He was not running. He was not hiding. He had done nothing wrong. Yet that night, standing alone in the cold, he felt something heavier than fear, the quiet certainty that the world already had a story written about him. One mistake, one doubt, one test, and everything could be taken away. What happened before sunrise was not just about one man. It was about trust, prejudice, and a reality people prefer not to see. The question is, how much does someone have to suffer just to be believed? It was an ordinary winter evening in a quiet American town, the kind where streetlights flicker softly and life appears calm on the surface. He had just finished a long shift, exhausted but relieved to be heading home. His routine was simple: work, home, repeat. He avoided trouble, avoided attention, avoided becoming visible, in a place where visibility often came with consequences. He lived with someone he deeply cared for. For years he had built his life around reassurance, small acts of kindness, consistency, presence. He believed love was shown through staying, through effort, through never giving someone a reason to feel unsafe or uncertain. But insecurity has a way of growing in silence. She had started to feel uneasy, not because of his actions, but because of the world around them. Stories on the news, comments from others, subtle looks, warnings disguised as concern. Slowly, doubt took root in her mind. She began questioning whether his calm nature was strength or avoidance, whether his patience was honesty or something he was hiding. That evening, her uncertainty reached a breaking point. She wanted certainty. She wanted proof, not understanding that in a society shaped by racism, asking someone like him to prove anything could be dangerous. What she suggested felt small to her, but it would soon change everything. The plan was simple in her mind. He would stay where he was through the night. If he truly had nothing to hide, if he truly cared, he would be there by morning. To her it felt like a test of commitment. To him it felt like a risk, but one he was willing to take. As night fell, the temperature dropped sharply. The streets emptied. Silence settled in, broken only by distant sirens and the wind cutting through layers of clothing. He remained where he was, aware that being alone at night in that neighborhood already made him a target. Every passing hour increased the danger. He stayed still, reminding himself why he was there. Not to challenge anyone, not to prove innocence to strangers, but to protect someone he loved from doubt. He believed that if he endured discomfort quietly, it would bring peace in the morning. But the world did not see quiet endurance the way he did. A lone figure standing late at night became suspicious. Cold became painful. Fatigue weakened his body. Each sound in the distance carried uncertainty. He did not move, fearing that movement itself could be misunderstood. Meanwhile, somewhere warm and safe, she struggled to sleep. She believed she would arrive early and find him waiting, and that sight would finally silence her fears. She told herself the night would pass quickly. It did not. As the hours dragged on, the cold tightened its grip. His body shook uncontrollably. His thoughts drifted between memories of safety and the growing weight of fear. Still he stayed. Leaving would mean confirming the doubts placed upon him, doubts shaped by prejudice he had spent his entire life navigating. By the time the sky began to lighten, his strength was almost gone.
Morning arrived quietly. She reached the spot just as the first light touched the pavement. Her heart raced as she looked around. He was not standing where she expected. For a moment, relief mixed with disappointment. Maybe he had left. Maybe the doubt had been justified. Then she noticed something on the ground. A still figure, barely visible, lying near the edge of the street. Snow partially covered his body. The closer she moved, the heavier the truth became. He had never left. He had stayed all night, too long. Emergency lights arrived too late. The cold had taken more than his strength. It had taken his chance to explain, to defend himself, to be understood. In trying to prove trustworthiness in a world that demanded proof from him every day, he had paid the ultimate price. Nearby lay small signs of intention, personal items he carried, reminders of a life built on effort and restraint. They told a story no one had listened to while he was alive. At that moment, the realization struck her with unbearable force. This was not just a personal loss. This was the result of a system where certain people are constantly required to justify their existence, their honesty, their right to simply be. And by morning, that burden had crushed him. She returned home, changed forever. The silence he once carried with patience now echoed loudly in her memory. She understood, too late, that asking someone to prove themselves in a racist world is never neutral. It is dangerous, it is unfair, and sometimes it is fatal. This was not a tragic accident. It was the consequence of normalized suspicion, of believing that trust must be earned repeatedly by the same people, while others receive it freely. He did not stay that night because he had something to hide. He stayed because he believed love meant endurance, because he believed staying silent was safer than being misunderstood. But silence did not protect him. Stories like his are often forgotten quickly, labeled unfortunate, unavoidable, or complicated. Yet they follow a pattern: to clear, to ignore. When society demands proof from certain lives more than others, the cost is measured in loss. This is not just one story. It is a reflection of countless others who stayed quiet, stayed still, stayed compliant, and still paid the price. The question remains: how many more people must suffer simply to be believed before trust becomes a right instead of a test?